Good morning. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Tea and Talks with your host, Alicia Green, and CEO of Integral Professional Services, BVI Limited. We are a small consulting company that offer an array of services to our clients that need solutions for corporate, corporate, government, small business. We provide a wide range of services with a unique network to help clients to achieve their goals in their organizations. So with that, today we are talking about the alternative risk vehicle. And where do we see, I'm going to say insurance / captive insurance in the next 5 years? There are quite a bit of discussion that we will go through this morning that's going to take you from risk management to claims management, reinsurance. Then we're going to talk about captives. And we're also going to talk about how you can get involved and spend a lot of time on, captive education. So to do that with me today, I have Dwight Geddes from the Geddes Management Group in New York. And I also have with me Mitch Cantor, who is the executive director with the International Center for Captive Insurance Education. I'm going to give these guys an opportunity to say and to greet you this morning, and then we will jump right into the conversation. Hi, Mitch.
How are you doing?
Hi, Dwight.
Good morning.
Why don't we spend a couple of minutes, Mitch, just talking a little bit about what you do out there in Vermont?
Sure. Well, Vermont is just an outpost, really. So, because we are an online education program, and we are the official education program of the captive insurance industry. We've been around for nearly 20 years now, so it's been a terrific journey. We started back at the turn of the century. It doesn't make it sound old to say that, but we offer online courses in captive insurance, as well as 2 designations for the industry, the only designations for the industry. And we're recognized by every domicile that I know of that practices captive insurance and has captive insurance laws available to them. And we also utilize faculty members and board members from all different domiciles. We truly are an international organization. We have students all over the world, and it's been a fantastic journey. And that's what we do. Everything we do is completely online, and you don't have to have any specific background to start IC courses. In fact, each course is completely self-contained, so they don't have to be taken in any specific order. And it's very flexible, which is the way that the designers of the program originally started out, thinking it was a very important thing, but to be flexible for industry professionals, for most of the people who go through the program.
So don't give us too much right now.
Okay.
Don't give us too much. We're going to come back.
All right.
And
I'll save the good stuff.
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
Okay. So I want to give Dwight an opportunity now to greet the audience.
Morning again, everyone. Dwight Geddes. I am the head of 2 insurance organizations, Geddes Management Group, which is a fairly new organization, provides consulting, risk management, broker, and expert witness services for the insurance industry, and Metro Claims and Risk Management, which I've been head of for quite some time now, and we're involved in the business of claims. That is what we do. We handle claims in the Northeast United States, tri-state region, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and we go a little further in times of national CAT events, catastrophe events. So we've operated in Florida, Louisiana, Texas, and other states across this country.
So while I have you, Dwight, why don't we get started with you in terms of the whole insurance industry? Because when we met a few years ago, yes, it was just claims management, but you have since spiraled into quite a few different areas, identifying the opportunities, and really have been successful over the years in the industry. So talk to us a bit about this risk management and how persons can get a better understanding of what it really entails and then, go into your claims area of specialty.
Well, yeah, and thank you. Yes, it was a little while ago that we first met, and the industry has evolved, and I think it's important that when you've worked in the industry for a certain number of years, you kind of, and each person is going to have that point, that number in their head, I imagine. But you kind of look around and say, okay, what else can I do? What else could I be doing? And I had that question, and I said, okay, you know what? I'd like to see if I could do other things in this industry. So I actually transitioned from working in an insurance carrier, behind a desk, to doing field adjusting work. And, it's something that a lot of people probably wouldn't do, but it's something that I wanted to do. And I can tell you that, when you're actually out in the field working with people, you're directly relating to and having conversations with policyholders, with the public, with people who have been damaged as a result of natural disaster. It's a lot more gratifying than anything you can do working in an office, in my opinion. So that was my leaving the corporate insurance, if you will, and starting up my own business and doing work in that regard as far as claims management. Since then, I am an insurance broker, and I have consulted with different companies on matters related to insurance coverage. And I recently also became a mediator because, again, with the experience that I have in insurance and handling litigation and so on, I thought, you know what, this is something that I find interesting. It's something that I could do, again, to help engage parties on both sides and move the process along. There's a need for it right now. And it was a lane that I saw, and I said, you know what, I'm going to do this.
Excellent. Excellent. I like that. And so when we talk about risk management and developing a strategy for that, what are some of the things as a consultant that you see and you would advise your clients on, and also provide some type of a future comfort for them with the program that you would have provided?
Well, with risk management, you can't eliminate all risk. You just can't. It's really impossible to say that, you know what, I'm going to foolproof this so nothing bad will ever happen. I mean, bad things can happen if you stay at home under the covers all day, right? So
Right.
The best we can do is we can identify risk, and we could put protocol in place to minimize the damage or the outcomes in a worst case scenario. I had a discussion recently with someone, and they explained insurance and claims in a way that I found profoundly insightful. And it's different than how I have heard people talk about claims in the overall insurance process. And they said claims is the promise of insurance.
Mm-hmm.
When you go and you get insurance, the insurance company is making a promise to you that when something happens, they'll be there to make you whole. Now, if you've been in the insurance industry for a while, as we all have been, that's not how you hear people talk about claims within the industry. A lot of people look at underwriting. Well, they're bringing in the money. They're doing the. Without claims, there is no industry.
Got it. So we are now, for us in the Caribbean region, into hurricane season. And I know a lot of people, when they hear insurance, they depend on people like us to really tell them what's the best way to go. Should I get insurance for my property? In organizations, they want casualty insurance, things like that. What would be your advice in this season, noting what we went through a few years ago with all those terrible natural disasters from 2017, 2018, and of course, COVID?
Yeah, the insurance industry is in a very weird place right now. Between all the storms that we've had, even during COVID, we've had some pretty bad storms. Ida last year was significant. They just had something recently. They're talking about Ida in New York, and how costly it was in New York, that storm, and that was basically a flood event in New York. Meanwhile, in Louisiana, it was a heavy wind event. I think it was hit Louisiana as a Category 3. What we can do is, yes, get insurance. You're better off having insurance coverage, making sure that you have the right coverages. I can't tell you what the right coverages are without knowing what you have, obviously, but make sure you have the right coverages. Make sure that you're insured to value. Make sure that you have a proper accounting of your personal property. This is something that people overlook, but it's something that should be done on at least an annual basis, where you make sure that whatever items you have in your house, you have a listing of that, and your valuables. And valuables doesn't just necessarily mean jewelry. It's big ticket items, and making sure that you update that list annually at a minimum. Because if something happens and everything is gone, that's not the time to be looking for receipts and trying to figure out, how much did this cost again.
I got you. I just want to take a moment to remind the audience that if you do have a question or comment, you can type it in the chat box of the webinar, and we would be more than happy to address that during the conversation. So don't be shy. Send us your questions, comments in the chat, and we will address them as best we can. All right, coming back to you, Dwight, just to tell us a little bit of the opportunities that you see in the next 5 years or so for the insurance industry.
Well, couple of things. From personally, I can say that one of the things I've always tried to push for in the industry is increased diversification. The industry right now has been going through, for several years, a graying out period where you have a lot of people retiring and more people retiring than coming into the industry. That's a problem. I am, relieved to see that the first CAT event I went on was, I believe, in 2008, 2009. And I remember walking into the room with all the adjusters, over 100 adjusters, and I was the youngest person there by a good 15 years at least.
Wow.
And I was one of only 2 people of color in the entire room. Over 100 adjusters for a major storm.
Right.
And, fast forward to 2017, 2018, Irma, same scenario, meet with the companies and all the adjusters were there. And this time I was relieved to see I'm not the youngest person in the room. There are actually several people that are younger than that. And there were about a little more than a dozen people of color in the room, licensed adjusters. And in contrast to the first event back in 2008, there were several women. And that wasn't something that was there before. A decade before, there were none. And again, that's just my experience.
I can attest to that.
Yeah, but I'm sure that experience is not, unique to myself.
Yeah.
That being said, there's a lot of opportunity within the overall industry, and all backgrounds and academic pursuits. They all have room within the insurance industry, because insurance is the fabric of business. And insurance is in everything that we do. If there's nothing that you can do on any significant level anywhere in the world where you do not require insurance. That's just the fact.
Everyone's insuring risk, whatever that is. They want to make sure
Exactly.
to protect against.
Exactly. And I'm sure Mitch will, talk about some of that also. But what we're looking at in the industry now, a couple of the things that we're seeing is, we're seeing a shift with the more talk and more planning for unmanned vehicles.
Mhm.
We're seeing that with freight, like tractor trailers and so on. And we're seeing it with small vehicles, I guess small commercial vehicles, you would call them, where you have companies that are going to be implementing unmanned vehicles to transport passengers in major cities. This is already being done in a couple of cities in the US. There was talk a few months ago with the mayor in New York about bringing that to New York City, which I imagine would be the big test, because if you've ever been in a taxi cab in New York City with unmanned vehicles, that's going to be
Wow.
something straight out of the video game. But it brings up some interesting questions. It brings us some questions with regards to who has responsibility for these vehicles in the event of a loss. Is it the insurance company for the vehicle? Is it the manufacturer of the vehicle? Is it a product liability issue? Is it a auto liability issue? Where do we parse out responsibility there? And that's going to be interesting to see over the next few years. Cyber is also a huge issue, obviously, and cyber is an area where I see a lot of companies are looking at captives and how best to incorporate captives in, cyber coverage.
Absolutely. And you're going in the right direction, because I was going to say, with all these, this higher level of risk, there's always this question, and we talked about this planning for this conversation, with domestic insurance versus a captive insurance, because sometimes the domestic side really don't have the capacity to insure on the level that is going to be required in the future. And so therefore, everyone's seeking, and trying to get as much understanding as they can as to how can we do a captive? What is this thing? How can we get involved? And again, being a captive consultant myself, they want to know, what are the minimums? Well, the minimums, to be honest, are very small. And I'm not gonna, spend a lot of time talking about that right now. But, when we looked at where captive was, even when I got started over 10 years ago, over a decade, it's very popular now. And I don't think it's a fluke because of what you just said in terms of the higher level of risk, and people are really seeking alternatives. And so the captive is now very popular, and it has even grown in popularity in 2021 with the whole COVID, people, getting their own captives against casualties and different risks when it came to the COVID era. So what I want to ask, I guess I can ask you, and then we roll into Mitch. Where do you see that going, and what has been your experience with clients in terms of them seeking captive insurance solutions?
I think, unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand the full benefit and how it can best help them. I've had clients who I've spoken to who have, done consulting work for certain clients and, discussed, listen, right now you have a considerable exposure here. You're paying top dollar premium, and you have a significant deductible also, or SIR, depending on the circumstances. And, it may be best if you consider, going with a captive or a risk retention group, depending on the circumstances.
Right.
And, people don't understand it. And people in, the African-American community, if you will, don't understand the benefits of that to them, because a lot of people are traditional with regards to insurance. They contact a broker, no matter whether it's they're making 10 million or $100. They go to a broker and they say, I need insurance. This is what I'm doing. I need insurance, and that's it.
Right.
So that deeper level of understanding, that falls on us to let people know the opportunities they can avail themselves and they're concerned with to grow.
Right.
And I think the captive insurance is a huge opportunity for growth. Mitch is smiling. Mitch agrees with me.
You're absolutely right. I definitely agree with you. And that's where Mitch now comes in to sort of dispel this whole captive, sensitize us to how we can get that understanding of the industry, and so persons can be aware and say, hey, I was always interested. Let me see if I can try this out and see where it goes from there in terms of the opportunities that Dwight even laid out for us this morning. So Mitch, I'm going to bring you up now to just tell us a bit, about what you've seen from your side in the captive industry and how persons can take advantage of the sector and get involved.
Sure. Well, I think it's funny, over all the years, I've been doing this since 2004 is when we actually launched the program. And so much of the challenge is making people aware of what captives are. And really, the first step is just knowing that it's just another tool in the toolbox. I mean, there's all these different risk management alternatives people have. And as I think we know in the business, that it really depends so much on your risk appetite. There are some companies that are just not going to have a captive ever because they don't want to have an insurance company, which is what having a captive really is all about. But for those that want to have more control over their risks and be able to profit a little bit possibly from having control over their risk, and certainly they'll just be able to have more control over their future, it's just another opportunity. And so as people find out about captives in the traditional side, and they come to either take a class or they find out about it at a conference, they say they realize they don't really know what it's all about. And that's just the very first step, is just finding out what captives are. So that's really what our program was designed to do, is to give people some kind of introduction into what captives are, and they can take one or many courses to find out about captives. And obviously they're going to engage someone at some point if they decide they want to go down that road. But it is a long-term solution, as we all know. If you want to be in a captive, it's not something you're going to start up and shut down in a year. Hopefully, that's really not the right idea. But it's just another tool in the toolbox. And as people find out about what it is, and they can decide what the risks are and what it involves, and how comfortable they are doing that and owning an insurance company, which is really what it's all about. And I just also want to just double down on one thing that Dwight mentioned, is that this industry is such a need for people even now, and that's even as we see so many people on the threshold retiring just a few years from now. So it's going to be starving for people in a few years. So it's a great opportunity for people who are interested in going into the business to, especially from people from the traditional side, to investigate what it means to be in the captive insurance business, because it is a great business. And it's, as I say, it needs people now. And boy, in a few years, it's really going to need people, as the whole insurance industry is going to need people as well.
So I think it's important here, Mitch, to also state that anyone, and I know we've been doing this for years as well, even if you are a customer thinking about starting a captive, you can take a class. If you want to become a professional in the captive industry, then you start the journey, of course, with the 101, and you build from there. Right. I'm an alumni of IC, and I was really glad I went through the program, because when I was first introduced to the industry, I had the big question: what is this thing with captives? What is it really all about? And then going through the course, I saw all the different areas that persons can definitely, like Dwight said earlier, when he saw the opportunity with mediation, he got involved, in the different areas. Mm-hmm. And so we know that a part of the process, it involves not only the consultant, it involves the manager, It involves the underwriter, the actuaries, and all the different areas going up. So I think it's important for everyone to know that you as a customer or as an organization can get captive education with IC. So I know you have some short-term classes and the longer term, of course, the associate's program. Tell us a little bit about the short-term programs that you have.
Sure. I mean, there are all sorts of people that are interested in taking IC courses. A lot of them are just people who are just have no idea what a captive is, and they just want to find out what's this all about. They've heard about it for years. Maybe they've been on the traditional side, and they've just heard captives. I mean, it's a surprising number of people have been in the insurance industry for a long time, and they've maybe heard the word captive. They don't really know what it is. It's an enormous number of people. So it's very simple for someone to take one of our introductory courses. None of our courses have prerequisites, and they can get a very good basic understanding just from a couple courses about how a captive works in general. And then they could say if there's something they want to pursue more and look into it, then of course there's a whole program. There's a designation called the Certificate in Captive Insurance, which is a 4-course certificate. And then there's the more expansive Associate in Captive Insurance, which really is the gold standard of the industry, which is 9 courses and 3 web conferences. And I should say that each course is completely self-contained, so you can take them in any order, and none of the courses have a prerequisite. And each course has its own exam. So when you finish that course, and you move on to the next part of the program. But there are people who are, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say exam. You said the dreaded word. People don't like to hear they have to take exams. But guess what? Because of the regulatory requirements of the industry, we want to make sure that everyone is truly certified in whatever it is they're wishing to pursue as a captive manager or just in the captive industry.
That's a great point. And just to give a little history on this, that, when the captive industry created this program, almost 20 years ago, they were very clear in what they wanted out of the program. They wanted to be sure that people understood this was a meaningful and valuable program that conveyed real information. This was not just an opportunity for someone to put some letters behind their name. In fact, there's also continuing education requirements which ensure that people keep their captive insurance knowledge up. Because it's amazing. We started this journey in 2004, opening our doors, and we have some courses that have survived since that time, but they're unrecognizable from their initial incarnation, because the industry has changed so much. It's constantly developing, and it's important that people keep up with their continuing education so they know what's going on in the industry. In fact, we actually have a lot of practitioners who are well into their career who enroll in our courses because they need to know what is happening now and not necessarily what was happening when they started their career. And so that's a great little facet of our program that keeps people up to date on what's happening in the industry. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I noticed we have someone that wanted to give a comment. Chandra, are you ready with your comment or question? I'm going to allow you to speak. Chandra, are you there?
Yeah, thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, you can speak.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for giving this opportunity. It was very nice to hear from Mitch Cantor about the captive insurance and ICCIE. I just want to introduce that I am Chaitanya from India. I am the founder of Capination Knowledge Services. Okay, I am very curious about these certifications, and I just want to know from Mitch whether these certifications, which are given, issued by ICCIE, are they recognized within Asia Pacific? And will, if anybody like me or a few more people are there, if they are pursuing these certifications, what is the support ICCIE extends in terms of placement?
Excellent question. Go ahead, Mitch.
Sure. Let me answer the first part of the question first, is that we do have students all over the world. The numbers are much smaller when it's in the eastern part of the world, as far as mainly because of the time difference. We do have a special exemption that we allow. We usually require all of our students to do all of our courses live when they occur, but because of the time difference, we do have an exemption for people in the Far East and people in really difficult time zones. So we do have people all over the world doing IC courses, but there are smaller numbers for sure. As far as support, as far as placement, that's generally not something we do. We have a job board that where people can post jobs and post their availability, but that's generally not something we're engaged in, because we're really focused on educating people and making sure we're giving them what they need for the industry. And if there's other ways that we can help them get going, we're happy to do that. We don't have an active job placement. That seems to be not actually much of a problem, just because it's such a need for practitioners. As far as I know, most people who have gone through our program have had a pretty good time finding placement. That's the best of my knowledge.
Hopefully that answered your question, Chandra. And thank you for joining us from all the way in India. Mitch, I think there's an opportunity there in terms of the job board and probably putting some information out on the website. I know that as an alumni and also a member of the IC board, I know that we do interact with the alumni on a monthly basis, and there is a platform for them to engage, but maybe that's an opportunity, noting the international interest now, to do something there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're always looking for different opportunities to partner. We have a very strong association with many of the domicile associations, which are already established, but we're always looking for new opportunities to establish a base. In fact, we are trying to become more active with the ECROA conference in Europe, where I will be attending in November. And we were just starting that process in 2018 when COVID came, and of course that's shut everything down. But we are always looking for partnerships. We just want to make sure that we are working with domicile associations if possible, or governments if possible, just because we want to make sure we have an official imprimatur of some organization. But we're always looking for partnerships and ways to promote IC in other areas, because we think it's important that these educational opportunities are available everywhere. So we're doing everything we can to work on that. I also should mention, by the way, that we do have 4 committees that help guide IC, and those are open to anyone in the industry, even just the risk management industry, who want to participate and help find out about IC and help guide IC. We're open to having people on those committees. So if you're interested in that, feel free to contact me through our website at ICCIE.org.
There's an opportunity, Dwight. Just saying. No, because for me, one of the things I liked about the members and the people that get involved, again, it's a diverse group from all the different areas in the insurance industry coming together to give their voice on what people should be educated and certified in. And again, just to reinforce the point, because of the critical nature of what this particular vehicle represents, is very important for us to obtain that understanding and the knowledge, right? So that we can get into the right structures. And Captive is also a very good investment vehicle. We didn't talk a lot about that, but I just wanted to throw that out there. You know, having your own insurance, there are really a lot of benefits to it. So again, if you're interested in having that conversation online, you can get in contact with myself or Dwight, because he is now, you know, into that full speed ahead with Dwight, with Geddes Management Group. And I'm actually happy about that, to see more and more of us coming on board. He talked about earlier being the minority in the room. When I first started, I was looking around, where are the women? You know, because it didn't have any, or it was very small at that time in this business. So again, just doing a call out to the females to get involved. We don't have to be behind the desk doing the paperwork. We can be out there, you know, talking and out there visiting the sites and being a part of the solution from that end. Again, Mitch, just tell us a little bit about how we can get involved and get up with IC. There's no big pre-exams required, right?
That's correct. I think the simplest thing generally is if people visit our website, which is ICCIE.org. We have all sorts of information about all the programs, and all the courses are listed, and there's actually a brief description syllabus of every course. So there's quite a lot of information to go through. And there might be people who are interested really in one very specific thing. Say maybe in the US, they're interested in RRGs, that type of structure, or they want to find out about accounting for captives. We have 2 specific courses in that. People can just go and look at what's offered through those courses, or of course they can find out about the whole designation and the whole certification. So there's a lot of information that people can find out on the website. And of course, they're welcome to contact us anytime through the website or our office. We do have a staff that works. We feel like we're working 24/7, 25/7. How's that? So we'll answer your questions anytime. I'm happy to do that.
Excellent. Excellent. Now, Dwight, what would you like to leave us with as we get ready to close today?
Again, this has been a great discussion. And I appreciate the insight here, Mitch, and definitely, you know, there's things here where we're certainly on the same page as far as where we see the industry, where it's been, and where it's headed in a lot of ways. The industry is in an interesting place, but the industry is also poised to lead the way in business in many respects. As we open our doors to, not literal doors, but figurative doors, to new opportunities for people who don't look like us or think like us, or have the same religion and that kind of thing, that makes us a better industry on a whole. That makes the industry more reflective of the people that it's serving. And that could make the insurance industry be the vanguard for business overall. I'm excited to be here as part of this. One of the things I believe Mitch mentioned, and it's something that I steadfastly believe in, you never stop learning in this business.
Absolutely.
And we have to continue to learn and evolve and grow.
Absolutely.
That's all I have.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thank you for those final comments, Dwight. What I would like to leave everyone with is, yes, continuing education is very, very important because times change, the industry is changing based on the requirements that the regulatory bodies are asking us to comply with. We have to get schooled up and we have to be current. And the best way to do that, especially in the captive industry, is again to align yourself with an organization or institute like IC, and then have a close relationship with a consultant that not only has history, but they're also current in the industry to get your insurance advice. All right, so if you're interested again in having more dialogue in this sector, you can contact myself, you can contact Dwight, and then we would be happy to put you in contact with Mitch should it be a direct IC engagement that you require. All right. Now, IPS, we are online, IPSBVI.com. You can check us out on our LinkedIn page. We're also on YouTube because this episode will also be placed there if you need to replay or just want to get some more information or feedback again from what these guys talked about this morning. I want to thank everyone for getting up early, multitasking as you get ready for work, and joining us on today's Tea and Talk. We will be taking a break for the summer and coming back with fresh hot topics again. So look out for that relaunch date. Again, thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Dwight. Thank you, Mitch, for making this a successful conversation. I'm your host, Alicia Green from IPS.